sleeping elephant on my last video commented about something that resonates with most of us. It was about how their investments and their lifestyle really clashed, where they wanted to spend a lot of money on life and not that much on their investments. And now they realize that was a big mistake. I wanted to talk about that really quick. Let's say you don't have a very good job and you're only walking away with $500 every week. Now, I understand it's not much money to live off, and it's not that much money to invest with. But still consider investing. And there's a lot of investments that you don't need to put in $100, $200 in, like a Magic the Gathering or Pokemon booster box. You could start with $1, $2. I would say Bitcoin is one of those investments. You could be starting with $1 or $2 a day. You don't need to buy a whole coin. I would say some other stocks are that type of investments, $1 or $2. And also, if you could save up, Pokemon and Magic could be that investment for you. $500 a week is enough to be able to buy something, reasonably expensive and hold on to it and sit onto it. And there's a lot of reason why you should do this as soon as possible. And the biggest reason is compounding. A lot of people have heard about compounding, and maybe you haven't done the math. So let's start with a high yield savings account. One of the safest investments you could recommend right now, because it's just free money at about 3.5%, but let's round it up to 4 just to make the math easy. So let's say you have $1 million in the bank and you get 4% every year on your money for the high yields account. That 4% will be $40,000. And that's a lot of money. That might be the entire $500 that you're making every week. $400,000. That should be $500 a week of money, after taxes. And you might say, okay, yeah, sure, but I have to have $1 million in the bank. Well, the principle I'm trying to show with that is you don't need that much. The principle I want to mention is a percentage move can be a lot of money depending on how much you have invested. But obviously, you have to start slow. And think of it as a snowball rolling down a mountain. It doesn't start to be very big, but when it begins, you need to have something and you can help it push it along faster. And the thing about compounding is this: you can get to $1 million in investments with just a small amount of money. Picture this. I believe the average yearly returns for Bitcoin is about 40%. I believe it's higher than that, but I want to keep the numbers low to anyone that may be skeptical of it continuing, which it would continue. 40% a year. Now, let's say I bought $1,000 worth, 40% every year. The first year, I'd be up $400. I would have $1,400. The next year, I would be up about $500. That investment would continue to grow because you're also getting a percentage on the increased value of whatever it is that you've put in there. So some of these numbers can actually sound small at first, but grow to be quite large because it's growing itself. And I would say this is a play with Pokemon as well. I read a story about someone who had bought some Pokemon auxiliary product for maybe $20, $30. And he had a 7x return. $250 this product went to. Now, he was talking to his parents at the time, and he actually sold that to his parents because they wanted to get to Pokemon investing. And they saw another 5x, I think it was another 5 or 6x return, and sold this thing for several $1,000s. And you think, okay, they both got about that, they got a lower X return than the son, but the thing is, it was on a much bigger amount of money. And with investments, a lot of times the money and the increased gains doesn't stop. It just keeps going. And even if the value grows, well, the higher it goes, the easier it can go even higher. And that's something you see a lot in the Pokemon and Magic the Gathering markets. You'll see something that was $100. It's been $100 for the past 3 years. And all of a sudden, you might check the market, and it's $120. And you go, let's see how many are left on the market. And there's like maybe 10. This happens a lot. There's 10 on the market. And they could be maybe a couple for 120. And then you see one listed for 200. And then one listed for 300, 400, 800. And you think, what are the odds that people actually buy it for those 2, 3, 4, 800s? And I would say pretty high. People want what they want, ultimately. And when it comes to investments like that, with something like a collectible, at this point people realize that the Magic the Gathering and Pokemon collector train is going to continue. And in the future, if you believe in that greater fool theory, if you want to apply it to this, it will play out once again on those products, most likely. Unless a lot of new product comes to the market, which that's always a possibility. And so depending on what product we're talking about, you should use some speculation caution. You need to kind of have a good head on your shoulders and predict if this product seems like something that a lot of other people are going to have or have been sitting on. But you see this thing play out over and over again. And I see it a lot with Pokemon singles. It feels like there's a lot of Pokemon singles that are kind of hovering around. There's like 5 or 6 left on the market. There was some stamped Pikachus. It was like stamped 15. It was stamped like number 5, 55. I don't really understand what that was from. I wasn't around there. But I was browsing the Pokemon market and I found those and I went, there's only about 4 left on the market for about $3, $4 each. You could buy all of them and then list one for $10, $20. And if it sells, you just paid for all of them. So that's what I did. I went through each series and bought them all up. Now, some people did come to the market and list like 10 for $10. Like just an unreasonable amount just to unload them, just trying to get all their money back. But there's 2 things that are going to play out. One is, once all their stuff sells, it could go higher. And there's only so many people that can come and support the market and kind of hold it up. Because, hey, I came to the market and cleared it out. And if someone sees that this thing is popping from $2, $3 to $10, that's a good entry to go in and say, hey, there's probably not that much left. And another thing about these stamped things is I only bought them for $2, $3, $4, $5. Even if they go to 10 and someone's listing it for 10, I undercut them. Let's say I undercut them at 9. I'm still profiting some money. So there's profits to be had, and that just shows how easy it is to make a multiple on your money in a small amount. But how even that small amount, I bought it for $5. And after that guy's 10 whatever copies sell, it could push higher to 15. And sure, it's only one $5 investment, but across the entirety of your life, across all the choices you have with investing, that could easily be something that's repeatable. Something that if you have enough conviction with, that you can continue to find increased gains in something like the Pokemon market, in something like the stock market. All you have to do is find something that you really trust and put some money in and continue to put money in. So ultimately, I just want to kind of explain that even small investments can have many multiples, and that multiple can grow many, many times. It could be something that you put in $100, and this thing could grow to $100,000. And you might be saying, dude, that's impossible. And no, it's not impossible. It happens all the time. It happened with Bitcoin. Why do you think that it won't happen again? And why do you think that you can't find that investment before it's too late? And another thing is, why do you think that it's too late even on something like Bitcoin? even on something like Pokemon, some of these things that have gone and tripled and quadrupled already. A lot of these people are buying them going in on these things that have 4 or 5x, and they're continuing to 4 or 5x. So if you want to make your paycheck of $500 every week look like $3,000 every week, you're going to have to invest them and sit on that money and put it to work. And in a couple years, yes, it will take years, probably, or maybe it's faster than you thought. With something like Lord of the Rings Special, it only would have taken 2 years for your $300 investment to look like $3,000. So there's a lot of investments out there like that, and you just have to buy something and hold on to it enough and have enough conviction and outlast the market and appear when it ends up being more of a blue ocean. So that's pretty much it for this early morning conversation. I really hope this convinces or helps someone with their investing. Investing is the key to saving your financial landscape, your portfolio. It's the key to making more money at the end of the day, because a job can only pay you so much, and you can do both. You can both work for a better job and work on your investments. I mean, you have the free time, especially on your breaks. If you're taking the bus on the way over to wherever it is you're going, even if you're in school, if I don't know if some student or someone's going to watch me and watch this far into the video, but imagine you're in school and you have, you were going to waste some money on something, $100, and you think, you know what, there's a chance that this item could make me a millionaire just from $100 investment. I don't know. Let's take a chance. And it could have been you buying $100 of something like Bitcoin. It could have been you buying $100 of something in the Pokemon space, or a good Magic the Gathering collectible item, like a collector box or a collector booster. And who knows where that thing could go in several years. When years play out, when supply really gets low and people still want it, sky's the limit. See you guys later. Stay safe, happy stacking, safe investment. Peace.